In this video, we help you understand what it takes to get started with QuickBooks to create a QuickBooks report or visualization. We are assuming you have properly implemented QuickBooks and that you have successfully synced your data a first time. Out of the box, we have over 200 examples for a variety of applications, including Excel with our Excel add-in, Microsoft Access, SAP Crystal Reports, Excel Power Pivot, Tableau, and of course Power BI. Both Excel Power Pivot and Power BI have an additional 5,700 DAX measures included in our offering. Regardless of the application you intend to use with QuickBooks, the easiest way to start playing with QuickBooks is to open up an Excel example and then use the Excel add-in. This is a sales example, a sales data model. If we go to the QuickBooks ribbon and invoke the Select Assistant, you'll see that you can choose a field that you want for your pivot table. You can drag in a column that you need for your pivot table, and you can easily compare these against a specific transaction inside of QuickBooks. Additionally, you can hover over one of our measures or any field, and it will tell you exactly where it came from and what the intended use is. I want to delve into three areas that are important in your beginning journey with QuickBooks. First, there are some things that QuickBooks doesn't even store in the database or that are not available. How you enter your data can make it easier or more difficult to get your report or visualization. And how do you know which data model to use? First, the data availability. The Intuit Software Development Kit makes available most of the data from QuickBooks, but there are a few important areas where information is not available that you might be expecting. We're going to list the biggest ones here. First, customer invoices are not linked to vendor bills. You may create an invoice from a billable item on a bill, but QuickBooks doesn't store that specific link. The cost of a specific inventory item is not available. Just the average cost whether you actually use LIFO or FIFO. There is no historical state of a purchase order or sales order. Estimate change orders are not stored in a separate table. It is just text on a detail line. Time tracking and payroll are not linked as much as you would think they are. Time tracking is used to create payroll, but you can change either time tracking or payroll after the fact with no referential integrity between the two items. Balance sheet by class cannot be reverse engineered because QuickBooks doesn't store the balance sheet account class splits. The actual report in QuickBooks is calculated on the fly when you run the report. So you should use those specific data models we have provided for balance sheet by class. There are some payroll and employee setup details missing, but payroll posting and non-posting information is complete. Then we have the alias names for things like template column headers and job status. Those are not available, just the original name. This page has a detailed list which is helpful to you before you dig in too deep. There are two irrefutable facts about our industry space. First, everybody uses QuickBooks differently, and second, everybody looks at their data differently. How you enter your information in QuickBooks determines how easy it is to get accurate and meaningful data for your report or visualization. Let's look at this first example where you might ask employees to enter yes or no in a particular field. Well, as you can see, there are many options. This can affect filters or even the display. What if you want to know what machinery costs were on a particular job? There is no intrinsic method in QuickBooks to make that determination. You might have one generic item that just differentiates by description. You might have a sub-item or multiple sub-items, or maybe you even use a specific account name. These all come into play when deciding what you want to see. One thing we have learned after dealing with thousands of customers is that you can't always go in and change how you do things just to accommodate some reports, especially if the procedure has remained unchanged for many years or even several decades. In the early years of QuickBooks, customers and pro advisors used a variety of band-aid methods to stuff data into odd fields just so they could export to an Excel spreadsheet and manipulate the data several times a month. This is no longer necessary, but again may be relevant to your situation. So there are times when you can just pull in the columns using out-of-the-box examples in Qube, or times you may have to hire Qube certified solution providers to get you to the finish line because of the way you have entered your data over the years. This is still cheaper than starting from scratch, but something you may have to entertain if you think your data entry procedures are inconsistent. Let's talk about data models, which is what makes Qube exponentially more powerful than a raw connector. A raw connector must use the Intuit software development kit like everyone else, but it is still raw data. Qube uses over 35 data models, each with specific goals. A data model is a complete cube of information covering a specific QuickBooks topic or business subject. As opposed to a raw connector, which requires learning about tables, relationships, mapping documents, and QuickBooks data dictionaries which don't even exist. Qube is everything put together with dozens of additional measures that QuickBooks doesn't have, and hundreds of additional measures in Power Pivot or Power BI. Many are unique and all-encompassing, such as sales or inventory, purchases, payroll, job cost. A good number of our data models deal with various options for financial statements and things like cash flow and trial balance activity. And some are accountant-based, such as general ledger detail, profit and loss detail, or even fixed assets. There is a video link below where we discuss the data models in more detail. For now, the thing to remember is that one data model does not depend upon another, and you would never tie one to another unless you are trying to do something that QuickBooks does not do or store underneath the hood. In those cases, you would need specific data entry procedures and a Qube certified solution provider to get you through that hurdle. However, if you want to see disparate information about a common subject, you might assemble several data models into one group, such as sales and OpenAR, and even use an application like Power BI to use common filters such as customer or job. This concludes our video on getting started with Qube. Watch other videos on this channel for more in-depth learning on Qube with Excel or Power BI.